Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most exciting developments in AI, tool-using LLM agents. You see this diagram here? This is the fundamental shift happening right now. We're moving from simple user queries being answered by an LLM to something much more powerful. Agents that can actually call APIs, browse the web, and interact with databases. We're literally transforming LLMs from basic text generators into intelligent agents that can take real actions in the real world. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build these yourself. So what exactly are we covering today? 4 major topics. First, function calling. This is the foundation, how we enable LLMs to use external tools and APIs. Second, web browsing agents. We'll see how to build agents that can navigate websites and extract information autonomously. Third, vector databases. This is crucial for semantic search and building retrieval systems. And finally, agent architectures. We'll explore different patterns like react and plan and execute for building truly autonomous agents. Our goal here is simple. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to transform an LLM from a passive text generator into an active agent that can interact with the world. All right, let's start with function calling. So what exactly is it? Function calling allows LLMs to intelligently decide when and how to use external tools. Here's the problem. LLMs by themselves can't access real-time data. They can't perform complex calculations. They can't interact with external systems. They're frozen in time at their training cutoff date. But here's the solution. We give the LLM access to functions it can call to perform specific tasks. The workflow is beautifully simple. Step 1, a user asks a question. Step 2, the LLM determines which function to call. Step 3, that function executes and returns results. Step 4, the LLM incorporates those results into its final response. It's like giving the LLM a toolbox and teaching it which tool to use for each job. Let's make this concrete with an example. Say a user asks, "What's the weather like in New York?" First, we need to define the function. Look at the structure. We're creating a tools array with a function definition. We specify the name getWeather, give it a clear description, and most importantly, define the parameters it needs. In this case, we need a location parameter of type string, and we mark it as required. This tells the LLM exactly what information it needs to extract from the user's query. The key here is that description field. Get current weather for a location. This is how the LLM knows when to use this function. The better your description, the better the LLM will be at choosing the right tool. Now, here's how we actually make the API call. We send the user's message to OpenAI's API, along with our tools array, and set tool choice to auto. What happens next is really cool. The LLM doesn't just give us a text response. Instead, it returns a function call in the response. Look at the tool calls array. It tells us exactly which function to call and what arguments to pass. In this case, it correctly extracted New York from the user's query and formatted it as a proper function call. Now we execute that function. We actually call our getWeather function with New York as the parameter. We get back real weather data, and then we send that back to the LLM for it to formulate a natural language response. This is the complete loop, from user query to function identification to execution to final response. So where do we actually use function calling? The possibilities are endless, but here are the most common categories. Data retrieval, database queries, API calls, file system access, anytime you need to fetch information from external sources. Calculations, math operations, currency conversions, date and time calculations. LLMs aren't great at precise math, but they're excellent at knowing when to delegate to a calculator function. External actions, sending emails, creating calendar events, posting to social media. This is where agents become really powerful. They can take actions on your behalf. search and lookup, web search, knowledge-based queries, document retrieval. This pairs perfectly with our next topic, vector databases. The pattern is always the same. Identify a task the LLM can't do itself, create a function for it, and let the LLM decide when to use it. Now, let's level up to web browsing agents. This is where things get really exciting. Web browsing agents enable LLMs to navigate websites and extract information autonomously. They're not just reading static text, they're actually interacting with web pages. Here are the key capabilities. Navigate. They can click links, fill out forms, scroll through pages. Extract. They can parse HTML and pull out the relevant data you need. Interact. They can handle dynamic content and JavaScript, not just static HTML. Reason. This is the key part. They can decide what action to take next based on what they see on the page. The two most popular tools for this are Playwright and Selenium. Playwright is my personal favorite. It's modern, fast, and has great headless browser support. Selenium is the older, more established option with broader language support. Let me show you a practical example. Say we want to build an agent that finds the top 3 Python courses on Udemy. Here's the code using Playwright. First, we launch a headless Chrome browser and create a new page. Then, we navigate to Udemy's homepage using page.goto. Next, we interact with the search bar. We fill in the input field with Python programming and press enter. The agent is literally typing and searching like a human would. Now here's the cool part. We use page.evaluate to run JavaScript in the browser context. We select all course cards, take the first 3, and extract the title and rating from each one. Finally, we close the browser and return our results. The beauty here is that the LLM can reason about what it sees, decide where to click next, and adapt its strategy based on the page content. It's not just following a fixed script, it's thinking. All right, next topic, vector databases. This is absolutely crucial for modern AI applications. So what are they? Vector databases let you store and search data based on semantic meaning, not just keywords. Here's how the whole process works. Step 1, embedding. We convert text into numerical vectors. These are arrays of numbers that capture the semantic meaning of the text. Step 2, storage. We store these vectors in a specialized database optimized for vector operations. Step 3, search. When we query, we find similar vectors using cosine similarity or other distance metrics. Step 4, retrieve. We return the most relevant documents based on semantic similarity. The two most popular options are Pinecone, which is a managed service, super easy to use, and ChromaDB, which is open source and can run locally. The key insight is this: traditional databases search for exact keyword matches. Vector databases understand meaning. So, how do I fix my car and auto repair help would be considered similar, even though they share no keywords. Let's see some code. Here's how you work with ChromaDB. First, we create a client and a collection to store our documents. Then we add documents. Notice we just pass in the raw text. ChromaDB automatically generates embeddings for us behind the scenes. We give each document an ID and the actual content. Now here's the magic, searching. We can query with, how do I search by meaning? And even though our documents don't contain those exact words, the vector database finds semantically similar content. It might return the document about semantic search because it understands that's what the user is asking about, even though the query and document use different words. This is the power of embeddings. They capture meaning, not just syntax. Now, let's talk about RAG, Retrieval-Augmented Generation. This is probably the most important pattern in modern LLM applications. RAG combines vector databases with LLMs to give you informed, accurate responses. Here's the workflow. Step 1, user asks a question. How does photosynthesis work? Step 2, we perform a vector search to find relevant documents in our database. Maybe we have biology textbooks stored there. Step 3, we inject that retrieved context into the LLM prompt. We're literally giving the LLM the information it needs. Step 4, the LLM generates an answer using that retrieved context. Why is this so powerful? Look at these benefits. Reduces hallucinations. The LLM is working from actual documents, not just its training data. Provides up-to-date information. You can add new documents to your vector database anytime. Private knowledge bases. You can have an LLM answer questions about your company's internal documents. Improves accuracy. The LLM has specific, relevant context for each query. This is how you build ChatGPT for your own documents. It's incredibly powerful. Here's what RAG looks like in code. This is a complete implementation. First, we search our vector database with the user's question. We're asking for the top 3 most relevant documents. Then, we build context by taking all those retrieved documents and joining them together with line breaks. Next, we create a prompt that includes both the context and the user's question. We're explicitly telling the LLM to answer based on the provided context. Finally, we send this to the LLM and get back a response that's grounded in our actual documents. The key here is that the LLM never sees your entire database of documents. It only sees the 3 most relevant chunks for each query. This keeps your token usage manageable while still giving the LLM the information it needs. This pattern is used everywhere: customer support chatbots, internal knowledge bases, research assistants. If you're building with LLMs professionally, you're almost certainly using RAG. Now, let's talk about agent architectures, the frameworks for building truly autonomous agents. There are 2 main patterns here. First is REACT, which stands for Reason plus Act. This is an iterative approach. The agent thinks about what to do, takes an action, observes the results, and repeats until the task is done. It's more flexible and can adapt on the fly. Second is Plan and Execute. This is more structured. The agent creates a complete plan up front, then executes each step sequentially. This is better for complex tasks where you want more predictability. Think of React as improvisation. The agent figures it out as it goes. Plan and Execute is like following a recipe. You plan all the steps first, then execute them in order. The popular frameworks for building these are LangChain, which is probably the most widely used, AutoGPT, which focuses on autonomous agents, Baby AGI for task-driven agents, and Llama Index for data-centric applications. Let me show you React in action. Say we give the agent this task: book a flight to Paris and find a hotel. Watch how it reasons through this. Thought 1. I need to search for flights to Paris first. Action: calls search flights with Paris. Observation: gets back flights ranging from $500 to $800. Thought 2. I should book the cheapest flight. Action: calls book flight with the $500 option. Observation: flight booked successfully. Thought 3. Now I need to find a hotel near the airport. Action: calls search hotels with location Paris and filter near airport. Observation: gets back 10 hotels, prices from $80 to $200 per night. Thought 4. I have completed both tasks. Final answer: returns a summary of what was booked. This is the React loop in action. Thought, action, observation, repeat. The agent is breaking down the complex task into steps, taking actions, and using the results to inform the next step. The beauty is that if something fails, say the flight booking doesn't work, the agent can adapt and try a different approach. Now let's look at how to actually build an agent from scratch. This is a basic agent loop that you can use as a starting point. We start with a task and an array of available tools. We set a maximum iteration limit to prevent infinite loops. This is crucial for cost control. Then we answer the main loop. On each iteration, first, we send the current messages to the LLM along with the available tools. Second, we check if the LLM is done. If there are no tool calls in the response, we return the final answer. Third, if there are tool calls, we execute each one and add the results back to the message history. Then we repeat. The agent keeps calling tools and processing results until either it finishes the task or we hit the iteration limit. This is the fundamental pattern. Everything else, React, Plan and Execute, multi-agent systems, is built on top of this basic loop. Before we wrap up, let me share some critical best practices I've learned building these systems. Clear function descriptions. This is huge. The quality of your function descriptions directly impacts how well the LLM chooses the right tool. Be specific. Include examples if needed. Error handling. Always handle API failures gracefully. Your agent will call external services that can fail, time out, or return errors. Handle these cases explicitly. Cost management. Set iteration limits like we saw in the code. Without limits, a buggy agent can rack up huge API bills in minutes. Trust me on this one. Security. Validate all tool inputs. Never trust user input blindly. Limit what permissions your agent has. If it's booking flights, make sure it can't also delete your database. And here are my key tips. Start simple, add tools one at a time, test each tool independently before integrating it, log everything, you'll need those logs for debugging, and monitor your token usage and costs closely, especially during development. All right, let's wrap this up. Here are your key takeaways. Function calling. This is the foundation. It enables LLMs to use external tools and APIs. Master this first. Web browsing. Agents can now navigate websites and extract data autonomously. This opens up massive possibilities for automation. Vector databases. These power semantic search and enable the RAG pattern, which is essential for building production LLM applications. Agent architectures. React and Plan and Execute give us frameworks for building truly autonomous agents that can break down complex tasks. Here's my final thought. The future is agentic. We're moving beyond ChatGPT-style interfaces where you type and get a response. The next generation of AI applications will be agents that can take actions, use tools, and complete complex tasks autonomously. The technology is here today. The APIs are available. The frameworks are mature. Now it's up to you to build something amazing. If you found this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more AI content. Drop a comment and let me know what kind of agent you want to build. I'd love to hear your ideas. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.